What's going on, guys? This is Magic Mike with the Crypto Playground, and today I want to tell you guys about my crazy weekend and how I almost lost about 10 grand in crypto, and I learned some very important life lessons that only experience can teach. So, yeah, buckle up. It's story time, so that way you guys can learn from some of my almost mistakes and how I was quickly able to identify and recover from what could have been a very compromising situation. So there I was. This weekend I was using my iPhone 11, and I mean, it's a new phone. I got it in 2019. Hadn't had any issues with it. I think I dropped it maybe 3 times without any significant damage. But I was using my phone, and all of a sudden the phone rebooted, and the little Apple logo started glitching. I thought it was an EMP attack, and it was just a weird thing. Like everything started pixelating on there, started changing different colors, and I was like, "Oh yeah, something's about to go down." So the phone didn't come back up after that; it just died. So I tried to start the phone again. It came on, glitched out a little bit, then it died again, and the phone never came back on. So my brand new iPhone 11 was dead, and this is the primary device that I was using to access, pretty much all my crypto activity. Not necessarily storing everything on the device, but accessing a lot of the gateways to my crypto through that device. And I hadn't been a good steward, and you know, backed up my phone as frequently as I probably should have. That was the first thing that came to mind, was like, oh crap. So I got a bunch of different apps on there. I don't remember everything that's downloaded on there, and I'm trying to run through my mind as far as what type of stuff I'm gonna have to go back and recover onto a new device. So once I realized that my phone wasn't coming back, I had to go into to damage control mode. So I identified a backup phone, which was an old Android phone that I had. So I booted it up. It was dead. Charged a little bit, and then did some updates on it, and then I started to off memory download some apps that I had on my Apple phone. So I started off with Trust Wallet, because I only had, I think, two like hot wallets on my device. Everything was apps, and of course my Google Authenticator was on there. So I downloaded my Trust Wallet application onto the Android, no issue. And I went and got I keep all my recovery keys off my device. So I went and got my passphrase for it, popped it in there. Wallet comes back up. I see all my balances, no problem. All right, so that was good. So then I use another app that I use, Exodus Wallet. So that's the next app I went to. So I went to the Android App Store, typed in Exodus Wallet. First app pops up, has a little Exodus logo on there. Quickly hit the install button, and then the app launches, and then I see two options. Either I can restore my wallet, or I can create a new wallet. So I hit restore my wallet. I had two options to restore. It was either scan a QR code or populate the passphrase. So I decided to use the passphrase just to test it out, see if it was good to go. So I got the passphrase out, popped my passphrase into the app, hit restore. Didn't go as smoothly as the Trust Wallet. So I get redirected to this web page, and it says, sorry, we're down for maintenance. We apologize. We'll try to get back up as soon as possible. So my alarm started going off. Like, wait a second. I've been messing around in this space for a while, and I've never seen, a wallet not restore because the app is down for maintenance. That was just a strange message for me. So that was the first thing that kind of set off my spider senses. So I went back to the App Store and looked at the app again, and realized that this app had no ratings. Like, no one had made any comments or reviews. I was like, that's kind of weird. So I opened up, dug a little deeper, looked at the developer of the app, and realized it was not the Exodus company that developed the app. Although all of the icons and, look and feel of the app was made to look like the Exodus wallet. So I was like, oh crap. So I knew what time it was at that point. I had now taken my passphrase, my C key, and I had now put it into this scam wallet. And the next order event after that is that somebody will get that somewhere in some database. They're going to go to a legit wallet. Then they're going to populate my key in there and have access to all my assets. So I was in straight up emergency mode at that point in time. So I had to think quick on my feet, and I logged into the computer. I'm thinking, okay, well, can I, change my passphrase for this wallet? What's my course of action to stop the bleeding? So obviously, my first thought was move everything off the wallet someplace else. But the problem is that my Google two-factor authentication was only associated to the phone that was now dead. So obviously, I couldn't get my 2FA to get into any of my exchange accounts or anything else that I had that was online because my phone is dead. So then I went to the second option, was to log into a separate profile on my computer and create an Exodus wallet, because I had an Exodus wallet on one profile, and that was the key that I had provided. So I had to create another user profile on my computer, launch the app there, and then create a whole new wallet. And then I had to pretty much go back and forth. Pretty much what I did was take all my private keys, my public keys, my addresses, my wallet addresses for my different assets, and I had to text them to myself so that way I can get them across the profiles and then start to move my assets from one wallet to the other. So I'm doing this as fast as I possibly can, and then I hit a few walls as I was going. For example, when you send some of the Ethereum-based assets, you have to have enough Ethereum in the account to pay for the gas to move the stuff. So I try to move some of my Ethereum-based assets. It said, hey, you don't have any gas in here, so you can't move your stuff. So obviously that's a problem. So I was thinking, okay, well, I can't log into one of my exchange accounts and buy some Ethereum and move it to the account. That would take entirely too long. I don't have my two-factor authentication, so I was stuck there. So then I try to convert, because on Exodus Wallet you can do some real-time exchanges. I tried to exchange some assets and it wasn't working. It was asking me for gas fees. So then I quickly went online, did a quick Google search, and found out that I had to move from an Ethereum-based asset to a non-Ethereum-based asset. I can do a swap there without having to pay any fees. So I had to get one of my non-Ethereum-based assets and swap it into Ethereum. So I did that and then transferred that Ethereum over to my compromised wallet so I can pay the gas fees to move my stuff over to the next wallet. So I got down, I think I was down to maybe the Hedera hash graph, and it was asking me if I had an account when I tried to initialize it on the new Exodus wallet. It asked me if I had an account and if I knew the password for that account and all kinds of crap like that. I didn't realize it was just asking me to essentially establish a new wallet on the new Exodus platform I just initialized. So I did that and moved that over, and it was just like probably in the nick of time. Every time I transferred balances over and I saw it successfully make it, a little bit more weight came off my back. Because some of these assets I've held for a long time, for even back to like 2017 on some of them. So I got them at some good prices, and I definitely was concerned that whoever had that compromised fake wallet on the Android App Store would move a lot quicker than I would to move to access my stuff before I got it off. So I finally got everything over, and the other wallet's still sitting there. But a few things I thought about was, for one, I downloaded a fake app. I put my private key in there, my passphrase, and I potentially, introduced maybe malware to that Android device, but definitely I opened myself up for somebody to restore my wallet to their device and access my assets. So it was a bit of excitement. One, because my iPhone 11 Pro Max crashed, which is crazy, especially as expensive as it is. And the second thing was learning some lessons on how delicate this space really is. Like, if you are not managing your assets effectively, this is not the bank where it is FDIC insured. You have to be educated to make the right moves at the right times. And even me, my profession is in cybersecurity. That's what I do for a living. And, acting hastily caused me to make some mistakes. And luckily I was able to recognize, some signs that set off some alarms. But a lot of people would probably just believe that they're just experiencing technical difficulties and they'll just try again later. And in the meantime, there's hours or days of a window of opportunity for that bad actor to utilize that key. Hopefully, he was sleeping at the time when I made my transaction, and they don't have an automated system. But yeah, if it happened to somebody else, it could have ended, more badly. But I was able to stop the hemorrhaging pretty quickly. So here's some tips that I learned from that experience. Number one, back up your phone. If you have a iPhone device or Android device, there's cloud-based backups, or you can back them up to your local device. Because if your phone crashes or you lose your device, being able to restore your stuff without, because in this case my phone didn't come back up, which I'm waiting for a screen to replace it. But if it doesn't come back up and I have to wipe it, imagine if I hadn't generated my recovery phrases from my wallets. If I had to wipe my device, then that wallet's on there with all of the keys and everything on it. Everything's gone. So if I didn't have those phrases anywhere, then I definitely would have lost access to everything that was stored in a hot wallet. The things I stored online that was protected with 2FA, it's a lengthy process, but you can get with the companies and say, hey, take this two-factor authentication off because I lost my Google Authenticator. But definitely back your phone up whenever you can. Apple encrypts it. I believe Android does too, so your stuff is generally safe if you back it up and it's encrypted. Make sure that you keep track of your assets. All right, so I keep a tracker of all of the crypto assets that I have. I write down what they are, where they're stored, and like a specific location. So if they're stored in an app on my phone, then I put app on phone or something like that. So that way, if anything were to happen to me, for example, then somebody, family member, would be able to get access to that tracker and say, okay, well, any of these assets can appreciate and become game changing for somebody's life. But if you have stuff scattered all over the place like I do for different reasons, whether it's staking or whether it's in a bank, doing yield farming, or whether it's in a wallet because it's just not a better place to put it, there's a lot of assets that you may hold and you want to make sure you keep track of where it's at. So what I added to that is my recovery phrases, so that way I have it in multiple places. So you have options. Best option is to have a paper record where you can either keep track of it inside of a book that you store away someplace safe, or if you have it a file on your computer, then make sure that you encrypt it with the Microsoft Suite. You can set encryption on your files, so that way you need a password to get into it. But highly recommend if it's on a computer that you back it up and put it someplace offsite too, like put it on a thumb drive or something like that and save it someplace else. But definitely, if you have a tracker with all your assets, it's easy to forget how many tokens you hold and where it's exactly stored at. And I've done that before, where I've held something that I bought in ICO days, and all of a sudden they become profitable, and then I forget that it's kind of sitting someplace. But to prevent that, I keep my tracker updated. Anytime I move my assets from one place to another, or I purchase additional assets, I write it down because I can see any anomalies. If there's funds missing, somehow if a hack occurs, and I can track my stuff down. Test your recovery phrases. So normally when you open up a new wallet, a hot wallet, they'll normally give you the opportunity to download or print off your recovery phrases. Normally they'll ask you some questions like which one of these words is in your recovery phrases. Some wallets will have you actually type in the entire 12 or 24 word recovery phrase just to make sure that you actually have it. So make sure you test those things, because I've seen times where people have written down something wrong, and then when it comes time to restore their wallets, they thought they had the recovery key and they thought they were good, but it turns out something was a little bit off, and now they don't know what it was, and they have issues restoring their wallets. All right, so it's our responsibilities in this space to try to maintain our assets the best we can. Download apps and content like Telegram links, social media links directly from the projects or the services that you are utilizing. Because in my situation, and this is why I don't use Android anymore, because being in the cyber field, I know that there's way more exploits in the wild for the Android operating system than there is for the Apple. And if anybody that's done app development knows it's a lot easier to get stuff onto the Android App Store than it is to get into the Apple App Store. So that means it's kind of a wild west for people who want to pop up overnight some type of fake. I mean, even SafeMoon was considered a meme project, but now they've been taken off the meme status. But when they were talking about making their SafeMoon wallet, before they even got a chance to release the actual wallet, somebody had built a fake wallet and launched it in the Android App Store. So now everybody that thought it was a legitimate wallet started trying to download it and provide all kinds of private information to these malicious actors. So yeah, that's a problem in the Android space. So if you have an Android device, then you have to check and double check everything you download and make sure it's legitimate before you start doing KYC or providing passphrases or whatever. The best bet is to go directly to the project's website, and normally there's a link for their apps or whatever that will redirect you to the App Store. Otherwise, look at the reviews, look at the developer, look at the date that it was launched. I've been targeted before. When I was on eBay and on there was this one website that I got not a crypto based attack, but it was just trying to get my money. I had went to this website one time and didn't realize that the website had been launched like within that week, and apparently seems like it had all these it was boxing equipment I was trying to order. And then after they scammed me, then they pretty much disappeared. But luckily I worked with my bank to get my funds back. But definitely look at the time frame as to how long that particular app has been around and when it was developed. If it was developed 2 weeks ago, has 0 reviews, and it's supposed to be a huge project, then yeah, it's probably not legitimate. So just make sure that when you download stuff, take your time, don't rush, vet it. Don't trust anything inside the crypto space because there's lots of scammers out there, and try to utilize the trusted sources. If you find a project that you support and you like, bookmark it, so that way you'll always use the same link, because there's even sometimes where they will change small characters inside of the like things that you wouldn't notice. There's like this thing called the ASCII chart with a bunch of different characters that look like regular letters, and sometimes they'll create a website that looks exactly like your project's website, but they'll substitute a letter with an ASCII character that looks very close to a particular A or a U or something like that. And that's how they sneak in these scam websites, and you'll see it, you'll click on it inside your Google search, believing that you just accessed your page for your project, and it'll actually be a scam page. So if you find a project, bookmark it, and that way you're going to the same URL every time. 2FA, two-factor authentication. So lesson learned there. I did some research on it after I had this issue with my phone. A lot of accounts now require, especially in the crypto space, two-factor authentication with some type of authenticator. So it might be Google authentication. There's a few other ones that's out there. But yeah, once the website generates that two-factor authentication key and you associate it to the app, once that information goes away, that QR code or those that numeric key that you type in, then you don't have access to it anymore. You can't back up the 12 accounts inside your Google Authenticator app and then restore it to something else later. It's every account that's in that Google Authenticator is its own unique instance tied to that specific application on that specific device. So if you lose that device, and then pretty much all those accounts that had two-factor authentication facilitated through Google Authenticator, you lose access until you go back to that institution and do whatever process they have for you to regain access. So the recommendation is I used to, when I first started, and I kind of got a little bit complacent, I had a phone that I used that was like air gapped. I never put it online unless I needed to do an update or access something. So pretty much it stayed offline. I only connected it to the internet when I needed to do a very specific function on there. But all my hot wallets that were on there, all the crypto activity I did on there, was pretty much once the activity was done, I downloaded my assets and updated whatever I needed updated. I take it off of Wi-Fi immediately, and then I turn it off and I store it someplace. The reason why I did that is because I realized that your daily phone, you can drop it in water, it can be stolen. If you constantly have it connected to Wi-Fi and to the internet, it's always a target. So just as long as it's online, you're going to get, thousands, if not millions, of attempts to access your device as you roam between Starbucks and the airport. Anytime you go to any type of public Wi-Fi, somebody's going to be trying to get into your device and look for a vulnerability. There's always an opportunity for you to download malicious malware, somebody to push things to you. It's just like a moving target, and I wasn't comfortable with having a moving target, especially with assets that can appreciate to something, significant. I didn't want to have that on my daily phone where, especially these hot wallets that are always connected online, because you're always, giving attackers opportunities to get to you. For example, when you're inside your house and you're connected to your Wi-Fi, you're a bit more safe because it's your device. Only your home equipment is connected to it. You have your password set on it, and you know who has access to that network. But say you go to the airport or Starbucks and you connect to their public Wi-Fi, then you don't know what other person brought a device that they can use to try to get on that trusted network that you're on, and they'll use that as an angle to touch your device. But just as long as there's a layer of security between you and the potential malicious actor, you're a bit more safe. But just as long as you're connected to the internet, you're never safe. So that's why I used to keep two devices. So what I'll do in the future is I'll go back and disassociate my two-factor authentication from this one phone, and then I'll start the process over. And when I get that QR code or that passphrase, one, I'll record it someplace and save it offline, just in case I need to restore it to another device. But what I'll also do is I'll register my offline device and my online device at the same time, so that two-factor authentication is running on both of those devices. One will always stay home, won't go anywhere with me. It'll stay off. It won't connect to any internet unless I need to do something specific on it. So that one is a very low target. Obviously, they make hardware wallets like the nano ledgers that keep your stuff offline, but some things, for example, if there's no support for a crypto asset and there may be a wallet that you're using, you may have no choice but to use a web-based or a mobile-based wallet. So that's why, I'll always have some type of offline device. And, that goes into my last point where I kind of touched on, is keeping a burner for crypto activity. So the more partitioned, and in the future, this will get a lot better as far as, not having to worry so much about, keeping your stuff, inside of a shoebox, inside of a safety deposit box, tucked away in Switzerland. In the future, when we get to a point where we start to utilize crypto every day to interact, then naturally you're going to have some type of level of, trust in moving around with your crypto assets. But always want to be in a controlled manner, know what assets that you're going to be utilizing, how you can access it if your phone were to be lost or were to crash. You got to come up with a game plan. You got to think about these things in the crypto space, because if my credit card gets stolen, I'll just call my bank and block the card. If my regular checking account gets compromised, I'll call the bank and tell them that there was some fraudulent activity, and they'll restore my account. But in the crypto space, if you give up your private key accidentally, if you lose your phone and didn't back up your wallet, unfortunately, there's no recourse for that. Next thing I also want to talk about real quick is, your passphrases. A lot of times we have a habit of taking a picture of the passphrase and saving it on your phone or saving it on your desktop. That's a bad practice, because if you take a screenshot of your passphrase and store it, if your computer gets compromised, which there's a million and one ways that can happen, somebody can specifically scrub your picture for photos, especially if somebody is particularly looking for crypto clues to get inside your assets. So if your phone gets compromised, that'd probably be a place that a hacker would check to look at the photos, to look for passphrases and things you may have taken a picture of, and the same thing on your desktop. So best practice is, if you can, keep the stuff offline in paper files, or if you keep it on your computer, then if you get a passphrase, type it into like Microsoft Excel, encrypt it, and then save a copy someplace that's off that device. So that way you have backups for it. So yeah, I just want to share that with you guys. It was a very interesting experience for me, and definitely learned a big lesson that we're going to use to kind of continue to shape the way that we approach security in the crypto space. So hopefully you guys learned something from my experience, and we will see you again next time.